All right, welcome back to Galactic Reviews. I am Payson, and to my left is Andrew. On the and Zach and Ethan are below me and Andrew, respectively. And this is our review of Soul, the movie Soul, which is on Disney Plus. We are not sponsored by them. However, if you want to give us money, now on to the brief summary of what we think of the movie. With starting off with Andrew.
So like with a brief synopsis and summary of the movie, this movie kind of I mean it's called Soul. It obviously deals with something to do with what happens to a person's soul. Um and I guess the real meat, it just follows this guy, Joe Gardner, a washed out or struggling jazz musician. It's his passion, but he's just stuck in this kind of middle school job, not able to get a gig. And then he ends up going to the Great Beyond or the Great Before, which is really great that they I think it's really great that they kept it. They were able to deal with the concepts of before life and afterlife without pulling religion into it to make it more inclusive to all. um, and it was and he met this other little soul inside in one of the Great Before, which is where souls come from before they're born. And the soul particularly struggles to find the thing that makes them them, which is the big plot of the movie. Is that Joe Gardner's trying to, and his soul is trying to help um, the new soul he found, whose name is 22, to find their spark, and it's just like the whole adventure of them trying to figure that out. I think it's a great movie. It's got some nice laughs. It's got a lot of feel good moments. There's some moments where you are worried about the characters and what's going to happen. But spoiler free, I think it's a very nice, good family movie that deals with some topics that you don't see in a lot of other kids movies, um, and some that you do see in a lot of kids movies. I think it's just a really nice, good old Pixar movie. So I'd probably give it, ranking up against all the other Pixar movies, I'd probably give it a good 7.5. I've seen, not, it doesn't hold as high a place in my heart as some of the other Pixar movies I've seen, but this one was a very good movie. I very did enjoy it.
I'll go ahead and agree with Andrew on most of that. However, at some points of the movie, it felt a bit, I don't want to say forced, but kind of rushed.
I think I know what you're
And
talking about.
and to me, those because they had a few of those parts, and to me that brought down the movie for me because I didn't really get into it. It was like really good, and then you had some of those parts, and it just kind of took me out of it, and I
They were.
lost a little bit of interest.
I do know what
But
you're talking about.
yeah, but other than that, yeah, I would have to agree with Andrew. Um, the concept and the idea was good, but their execution on some of the parts was, I think, a bit lackluster. So, if I had to rate it, I would say probably about a 6 out of 10 for a Pixar movie.
All right, Ethan.
Well, I of course agree with all the stuff that has been said previously. Um, this movie did not really feel like a Pixar movie to me, but I did overall like it. The writing, it was, I mean, there was some edgy points here and there, but overall, I felt this was like a really good movie. So I'm going to give this one a solid 6. But again, not really Pixar, in my opinion, but it was okay.
Yeah, I will kind of agree a little bit with everybody. What I will say is one of my main gripes about this movie is, especially with it being a Pixar movie, most Pixar movies, I never feel like they are just for kids. They are more family movies instead of just kid movies, whereas this one felt more like a kid movie with a few, with some other stuff maybe added in, but it felt more like a kid movie. However, there were some parts where I do have questions and they go unanswered, as expected. With not every movie is going to give that kind of stuff, every answer to every question, and there are some plot holes that lead to theories and speculations, which then create many other things later on down the line. But I will say I will give this a 6 as well because it did not feel like a Pixar movie in my opinion, but I could be missing something, but it felt more like a kid movie. And there were some boring parts, like Zach said. So yeah, that's my that's my little summary of what I thought of it. And now, warning, we are now getting into spoiler territory. Which, once again, if you are, this is a review on Soul. If you did not want to, if you have not watched the movie, stop it real quick, go watch it, come back, or heck, just watch it, this whole review all over again. But if you want to keep going, just beware, there are spoilers ahead. Okay. Now, Zach, would you like to elaborate on some of your gripes
Yes.
with this movie?
All right. Let's see. Where to begin? Honestly, the overall concept of the movie I think is great.
Oh yeah, for sure.
However, with I don't know if it's just the writing for the character in and of himself, or just how the movie was written in general. But there were some parts that just seemed kind of out there. Didn't seem like they fit to me, or weren't really necessary, I suppose you could say. Um, I'm trying to think of a part, but it's been a few days since I watched it. Hold on, I got this. Uh, I think one of them would have to be the whole concept of him refusing, honestly, refusing to die.
You talk about when he runs back on the
Yeah,
giant.
when he runs back. Um,
Yeah,
I get the idea, I do, but
yeah.
one thing I just thought was a bit out there was ripping a
Nobody else was
hole.
running back with him.
Well, no, that wasn't the point. It was mostly him ripping a hole in who knows what space and time, I don't know, and falling into
The great
what
before.
yeah, the great before. Um I don't understand how that would really work, but then again, that's not really up to me. And apparently it's happened before as well, which if they elaborated on that maybe a little bit more, it would have made a bit more sense. But that wasn't really the point. Honestly, just the um, the interactions, I think, or the no, no the character in the beginning of the movie, I just didn't really care for the main character. Joe was his name.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for him in the beginning, or really throughout the whole movie. He felt kind of I guess you could say he felt kind of woe is me. He
So
was finally getting his life to start. But the whole thing is that he, I don't know, this whole movie was so complicated to me. I loved it, and I just disliked this one character. I don't know if it was just the way it was written or how he was supposed to be, but it just rubbed me the wrong way, and it's hard to put into words, really.
What do you,
Um,
I can see what you mean, but I don't think the point was to get you to like or sympathize. Joe.
yes, no, and I agree with that. 22 was honestly, to me, honestly the main star of this movie. The whole
Yes.
thing was about 22,
Yeah.
but I felt like they kind of forced Joe at some points to be the main character.
I think Joe was the main character. It was not his story, but it
Yes,
was he
it
was
was
definitely
it,
the main character.
yeah. And I feel like they just kind of the way they wrote it just kind of to me didn't really make sense. It didn't really flow. well together, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that especially in some of the scenes from one scene to another. Some of it really didn't flow. Felt like you were kind of just jumped through. It wasn't as bad as we had previously seen in other films, like the one we did with not that long ago. But yeah, I can definitely see what you're talking about.
It was it was I think one of the parts of the movie that I really stuck out was when one of his students came to his place to say that they quit, and he was concerned but didn't really care about it at the same time.
Wasn't that when you're talking about the student?
Yes, the student. When she came, he seemed like he cared. But when she said that she wanted to quit, he wanted to help, and I understand he couldn't because
Cat
he's
body.
in a cat's body. But, and I suppose this is just how s- some people look at it. It was pretty much just go home, relax, rethink about it. When 22 kind of sympathized, or
So I see it a
personality got
little
involved.
differently. If you are a teacher that has been dealing with a student who has the same habit of wanting to quit all the time, but they never quit because they really do love it, this might not have been the first time.
That
Um,
is a true point.
And it's kind of implied with Joe saying, but she loves this thing. Like he already knew this was
yeah,
going to happen anyway.
it
Yeah,
looked like with his reaction later, it looked like he had gotten that sort of treatment before. I don't think Connie sympathized. I don't. Yeah, I think there was zero sympathy. She just
you mean
didn't understand.
I meant with 22.
22. Sorry,
It,
she
it
just
wasn't really sympathizing. It was more,
she was just so curious about
yeah.
why
I, f-
she wanted to quit. Even
I feel like this journey was also finding both 22's spark as well as Joe's.
hmm? Well, Joe had the spark.
Well, Joe
Yes, he
refining
does.
his spark.
Exactly.
Even then, I disagree.
Because
Really?
honestly, this
Yeah.
journey was both going on for 22 and for Joe. So I felt like it was kind of both of them trying to find, or him not really relighting his spark, but
I
I
think
don't
the
know.
movie had nothing
The
to
whole
do with
movie,
people's spark.
yeah,
Realizing that he was already doing what he loves, I guess,
I don't know.
I,
The whole movie to
is what
me
I
was
guess I kind of
a bit
that's what I kind of
complicated.
got. It's like he was already he was already doing what he liked to do anyway,
Hmm.
but he just had this dream that he always wanted to do, and I guess even to just do it once, I guess was just what he wanted to try. But
Yeah,
So I think the movie had nothing to do with people's spark, or their thing.
except for when 22 needed to find her spark, is that what you're talking about?
I think that was just the plot device, the legitimate of the message, the meaning, or the backbone of the story is that a spark really doesn't mean anything for your life, because your life is what you make it to be. Your living is
hmm,
your it's because it was all, and later on they got caught up on purpose. You have no purpose. Um, and he thought his purpose was to be a jazz musician because he thought that your spark is your purpose, and your spark is just what makes life enjoyable for you. It is the thing that partially makes you you, and it's the thing that you enjoy. It's your passion, but your purpose is what you choose to make your purpose. And that's kind of what, for me, that's what the movie ended on, was with him being like, I'm gonna live every day to the fullest, because he was like, yeah, I love jazz, but my purpose in life is to just live life. Um, so I think it was much more about appreciating life, um, and being okay with not knowing your purpose, being okay with discovering your purpose, not, but knowing not that what you're good at, and that, yeah, not necessarily what you're good at and what you want to do is your purpose. So
Okay. No, yeah, you're right. As I said, it's been a little while since I've seen this movie. Um, but yeah, remembering the ending, yes, that is pretty much what he even said during the movie.
Yeah, where he wants to live every second of his life as if
Mhm.
he doesn't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
and that's why I think Joe was like such a bland character to begin with. He was this
Yeah.
sad music teacher that just really wanted to make it, and kind of everything else took a backseat to his jazz musician dream.
Yeah.
And it was really just kind of a sad life. And I
Yeah,
think
which is
that
even what
was,
22 says to him in the Great Hall of Memory.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think Hall of You, was that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Something like that. I don't
Hall of
know.
Memory. Don't.
And yeah, I don't think, I don't know if he was meant to be a good character. I didn't particularly like attach to him. I wasn't invested in his life. I was much more invested in
Yeah,
like,
that
or
was
the
really,
billboard guy. I wanted to know more about him.
yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, to
yeah.
me, I didn't really attach to any of these characters, and I guess that's really why I just didn't
I
mm,
think the one
enjoy this
most,
movie.
I think the one I got most interested in was Moonrider, just because he kept on popping up and he kept on having all this information about the stuff, and you kind of wanted to know how he got to know all this stuff, and and all you get from him is that he was once a lost soul playing Tetris. That's all you know about him. So,
Yes,
all
Ethan?
right, yeah, Ethan, do you have anything to say about? You don't need to raise your hand.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, one of the things that I really liked about the movie, literally the main character turns into a cat. Imagine you walking down the street,
Okay, no,
and
this is
then
the
you look
problem with this
over,
movie.
and then
No,
you
this is the
look over.
problem with the
Let me
movie.
finish, I'm talking!
Okay, go ahead.
And then you look over, and then you see a guy talking to a cat. Does anyone
You've
else
got it.
think that's a little weird?
not
Like,
New York.
I was about to say not in New York.
Not New York nowadays.
I mean, you have a
So
solid point. I
No,
just feel like that was.
not in New York any day.
that's true.
I just feel like
That's
that was
true.
like a really nice like plot point that they
Impractical Jokers is in New York. You really think them talking to a cat is not gonna? Yeah.
Honestly, when he went to his barber with the cat.
had. That was, and then he was talking to it. Everyone's looking at him like, "Are you crazy? Like,
Yeah.
are you?"
So I do really to I think probably this will be my one of my last points on the like very in depth of the movie purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, the greatest moments for Joe were these moments where he was just not saying anything. Where it was where the scene where 22 was talking to his mom. And it was unclear whether 22 took over or whether Joe was still feeding the words, but that was a big kind of like growing moment for Joe, being like, no, this is what I want to do. Let me do it. And that was a nice sentiment. But also in the barbershop where Connie, why do I keep saying Connie? Connie was not her.
No.
22 was just going on and just
You never
talking,
know.
Yep.
making conversation and connecting with these people. And after that, when 22 was running around and enjoying life and being like, wow, music is so great. And
Yep.
wow, look at this. It blows air out. And wow, I've got legs. I can run. This world is amazing.
That's what I
And
was just about to bring up myself after
just
from
seeing
the
her just like,
barbershop.
wow.
Those were really the turning points, really in this whole movie, and I think that was now is thinking about it out loud. I think that was the point of the movie was you going through all this, like going through looking at his life, seeing just how depressed and pitiful it was, and then coming to this point and seeing how someone who's never been to Earth or lived any of this life and looks at it and sees just amazement, awe, curiosity, and loves it. That's the real turning point, not just for the character, but for the whole movie in and of itself.
I think you probably wouldn't have connected to 22 if you weren't. I feel like the people, the audience that connects to 22 most are the ones that are like have always been wondering what they're good at. I'm not generally good at this. What is the thing that makes me me? And the people that struggled with that sort of identity thing, what makes me
Mm-hmm.
me, would probably get along well with Connie. And people that would get
You mean
connected.
22?
Yes, 22. Thank you. I'm doing that the whole time. And the people
No,
that
it's
connect with
fine.
Joe are the people who just think they're not amounting to anything, no matter how hard they work. Life's not going their way. And like, yeah, it's. I mean, this movie was geared towards kids. It was definitely very colorful. The synopsis was very fun. I freaking loved Terry and Jerry's. I thought Terry was so funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Terry was the Kronk in the movie for me.
Yeah.
I love Terry.
But seriously, don't eat those potato chips, all right?
That was very good.
Terry is
Um,
the hippie guy, right?
Terry
No.
is the little
Wait.
like hedgehog looking
I
dude.
count all the numbers.
The
I do
counter.
everything.
Honestly, the way they tricked him
500
to
million
make him
people
come
come
back.
through this.
That was so funny.
What's even
Hey,
Um,
Terry.
What's
Hey,
even
Terry,
better was
look,
the accent
somebody's-
he had. It was just so hilarious.
Hey, Terry, look, somebody's coming. Look. Oh,
Where?
yeah, there's a star cluster.
Where? Bark, 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 bark.
Did you say something? I don't know. Were we even talking right now? Never mind. Keeps going back.
there's so I do think that Pixar does have things for adults and kids. I do think this movie did cater to adults because I
In
don't
some
think
instances, I would say in some instances, yes, because some of the jokes that you
Okay, it wasn't
wouldn't get if
really
you weren't listening very closely.
it wasn't really about the jokes. It
yeah,
was
this
more
one was not
about,
as much as a comedy as the other Pixar
Yeah,
movies.
I
it
get
was
that, but
mostly it was mostly just about Joe's life and
yeah,
for
There was a joke about a cougar being about the lady that Joe kissed or Joe's body kissed being a cougar.
yeah, I can see that one.
So I mean, I think this movie overall they toned down the comedy a little bit. This one was
Yes.
more like one of
more
those.
serious.
I think this one was more like it's about the journey sort of
Mhm.
movies.
Yeah,
I do not think this one would have been marketed towards the younger demographic, like 6, 7, 8, like Cars and Toy Story. This one is
Yeah.
probably more towards like 13 to
Yeah,
12 to
teenagers.
15.
Really finding yourself.
Yeah, I think this one was
yeah,
more.
I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah, so it is definitely different than their other Pixar movies. It is not as wonder and childlike. So yeah, this movie definitely doesn't follow the Pixar formula like all the other ones do with the jokes and the jokes for the parents and the jokes for the slapstick comedy for the kids. But I think it also just isn't a general Pixar movie.
yeah,
Honestly, this one is 100% outside of the box
Yes.
for
Yeah.
Pixar.
Yeah.
So now for me, talking outside of the seriousness of it, I thought the great before and the great after and the transition edit, I guess, animation, I thought that was so cool.
Oh yeah,
the
the transition
animation.
between the two were cool, but
I really
still
liked how
just
they
don't
animated.
understand.
You're talking about where Joe was falling all the way down to
Yes.
the great.
Yes,
Where-
I thought that just looked so cool,
music-
so trippy.
Yeah, it
And the
did,
music
the
that
mu-
went with it
yeah,
too.
I will agree with you there. That the music was good too. Like you really.
What just bothered me was just how would he be able to just rip open a hole?
Also,
in
how
that.
little people had actually tried doing that. Like,
then
did nobody
again-
else have anything to do that day? They were just like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to die."
I mean, and then again, this is a kids' movie. I don't think they were thinking that seriously about those fine details.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
So from a pure continuity standpoint, yeah, there are some holes, but
Yeah, like cats have souls. That's completely irrelevant. Cats do not have souls. I've seen those demonic demons. They do not have souls at all.
Well, I think that
And-
was the purpose is why he got into the body so easily.
Which, yeah,
Okay.
true. But what I
easy.
will, but
I
you
finished
saw the
finished
cat's,
on a good note.
you saw the cat's soul on the conveyor belt thing about to die, and then you would
Oh,
assume
yeah.
that it never got picked up. However, the cat comes back into the body, so that makes you question. Like that's one of my questions, and also I don't get the.
Well, it could have been a completely different cat.
That's true. It could have, but they don't really explain that. They just
But
the
they
cat
never-
shows
they-
up, even though last time you saw the cat's soul was on the
But
conveyor belt.
they never made a movie All Cats Go to Heaven. There's a movie All Dogs Go to Heaven, but not
Yeah.
All Cats Go to Heaven.
That's true. That is true. But then again, I don't think this was really heaven, considering that they had to die a second time. So
I don't know if okay.
well, they never
The
really
way
explain
they-
it.
the
You
way
just
they
assume that
showed-
everybody just dies again.
Yeah, the way they made it, it was just a giant bug zapper,
Pretty much.
which which just made me so confused.
That's true. They didn't explain it, and
No.
I
And
kind
they
of
kind of left it open for people to interpret their own way,
I
and
kind of
which
like
it's
that.
yeah, it's not horrible. It's just it would have been better to have some like like the Jerry's. They just I forget what they said they were made from. Like all the like all the quantum
I am the coming together of all quantized fields of the universe, appearing in a form your feeble human brain can comprehend. You can call me Jerry.
and at first that made me think that all the Jerry's were like a hive mind or whatever. But the more I watch it, the more I realize that each Jerry is an own individuality. But for whatever reason, and like that would explain why there is Jerry's and Terry. Terry is the only one that didn't want to be called a Jerry at the same time as all the other Jerrys, just wanted to have the same name to make it less confusing for whatever reason. Because I mean that would make sense for the little souls, but
Mhm.
my problem, I just don't. They don't really understand. Like it was a brief thing, but they don't really explain where they all came from, why they were tasked to do this.
I think they did it on purpose. Oh, do you mean
Yeah.
the Jerry's?
Yeah, like why they
Mhm.
were all
Oh,
tasked to
oh.
just like where they came from to be tasked to do this. Like they don't really give that explanation.
I don't.
In some case, like, and also one of the things that I found interesting is that they say in the great before time is not really consistent. So like there is no time in the great before. However, 22 says she spent multiple weeks. Like every week she goes up for one of the seminar things. So do they have time? Like that's the part that's just made me think a little bit, but that could be me over analyzing the thing because you're right, it is a kids movie. It's
Yeah,
more geared
I'm
towards kids,
personally.
and I overthink many things. However, I cannot think my speech. So it's just
See, I personally don't need to know the fine-tuned details of the
like
soul
I don't
lore,
I don't
but
either. It
that's
would just
me.
I would also like to know like it would be helpful for me to know. Like I don't need it, but
No, I got you. You've
I
got
would
the
just
engineering
I
brain. You need to know how things
Yeah.
work. No, I
He's
get
got you
it.
there. He's got you there.
From a creative standpoint, I was so drawn in to The Great Before.
oh yeah.
Just
Yes.
with the Jerry's, like everything they were doing was blowing my mind. I saw them, I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
after
the
the trippy animation.
animation looked phenomenal, which is expected with a Pixar film.
Exactly.
Animation looked phenomenally great. I will say it to me. At some points, it became predictable. Like
Mhm.
I predicted, I think like from the trailer, I predicted when they had Joe and 22 looking at him and the cat or whatever. Like I predicted that he was going to be put in the cat's body, 22 was going to be put in his body. I predicted that like within like as we were watching the movie, I kept on
Yeah, but
predicting stuff that
that
was
was
coming
honestly
by. But
probably the point.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
again,
And
kids movie.
this movie wasn't really meant
Yeah,
to be um it was kind of an open book. It was just mostly a journey
yeah,
that you were
yeah. I
going
get
on with
that.
the character.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
get that. It was mostly
Um
just a journey to go
mhm.
to figure out that he had actually a fulfilled life, and he just didn't. And he was starting
Realize
to
it.
realize how many things,
Yeah.
how much he had
He,
done, and how many people he had touched with his life. Like Curly the drummer, he probably would
yeah.
have never even touched drums if he did
He
not
was
make
just
it
I
interesting
know,
and
okay.
fun.
And I think that now that's probably why I just disliked
So that's like
the
another
character
thing
in
that you
this
can
whole
get
in
from it.
disliked this
So
the character Joe and just had a problem with this movie was he was just taking so much of his life for granted.
yeah, there was so many
And
things that he was just like,
that's probably what it was that I just it just bothered me.
It's
yeah,
easy to see how people do that from an outside perspective.
yeah,
But I mean, personally, I know there are things that I know I probably take for granted,
Oh
and
yeah,
or I
100%.
have in the past.
It's honest and
like walking, breathing,
it's
not falling into a sewer
yeah,
grate.
it's disappointing, but you don't try to dwell on those things as much as Joe did.
Yeah,
You build up and you try to get past them. And I think that was the biggest problem I had was it it's just because personally um I don't try to dwell on negative things, I try to just build up as much as I can and get past them. Because if you don't, you will turn out to what Joe was and just drown yourself in really
In
depression.
self-pity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the reality
Also,
is, some people are living that. So
Exactly. And it's so
a
sad.
lot of people in New York.
hence why it was probably in New York. So
I, I shouldn't laugh at that, but goodness,
It
that
seems
is,
Also-
to happens. It seems to happen a lot with entertainers, the entertainment industry.
yeah.
yes.
what I will say is another thing that I saw that was kind of just a minor detail that really didn't make much sense was that when 22 got put into Joe's body, I was surprised that she didn't feel any pain from him falling through a manhole cover that supposedly led to his death.
Okay, well, yes, but you have to remember she didn't understand. They couldn't feel anything beforehand,
Remember,
so I don't
she
know if she
failed
would.
body flight test like 20 times
Exactly.
or whatever.
I get that, but
Exactly.
you
So
think
I
that
don't.
that
I
would be
don't know
one
if
of the
she
things
would.
that she would be complaining about to Joe instead of just not wanting to walk and not wanting to know how to walk.
Yeah,
Like that
but
was just one of the things
honestly,
that
to
it
her,
felt weird that they
it
glossed
probably
over.
felt normal
Yeah,
because that
I
was
can
technically the
understand.
first time she was feeling anything.
I can understand that, but it would have been nice if they like had addressed that instead of just glossed over it like it never happened, which is what it seemed to me to be the case of. Like it just forget that happened. It never happened. That
Thing
was
that
interesting.
I didn't understand was this man had to have identification on him. They should have called someone, hey, especially his mother, your son just fell in a manhole and
Yeah, I like
is
how they
in a
couldn't find
coma.
that.
He's
Yeah,
probably gonna die soon.
yeah.
But no one was called. No one was told.
I like how the cat lady looked a lot like the cat. That was just beautiful artwork.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this week to listen to us ramble on about Soul and why we did or did not like this movie and why life has no purpose. Um, well, next week we will be tackling or viewing the movie The Marksman with Liam Neeson. And that is a quite relatively new one. So tune in then. Next time, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Help us get more videos, and we'll see you in the next one.
So what we'll do, and Ethan, you'll need to listen. Might be hard for you, but you'll need to listen. What we'll do is we will do what we did for Wonder Woman. We will give like a brief summary. I'm sorry.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Thing is, my mind goes a step
Elmo
ahead
Fudd
when
is
it
in the
shouldn't.
building.
My mind goes a step ahead when it shouldn't, and that's what happened with when the Wonder Woman one, right? So that's what happened with that one, and it's happening again. So I think school's made me dumber. I think engineering has made my English dumber. It's not me. It's engineering. It's my
Look at
English.
me.
So
And then you also have me as a brother, which doesn't help either. So
Zach, you can't spell. I can't speak, and
Well, I can't really do either.
just not
Lots
huge.
words.
We'll get into that.
everyone dies.
Yes, okay, that's fine.
That is a spoiler.
No, not really.
I mean, the movie is
That is
yeah,
life.
that's right. That's just life. It's called Soul. Yeah. So, anyway, we will not be doing a review, as we are dealing with a new movie. We will not be doing a review as not everybody can see it as many times as
We're
one
not
would
doing
wish.
trivia.
Questions.
We're not doing trivia.
We're doing a review.
I just want my chicken nuggets.
What is wrong? This is the problem with English and me and okay.
Avocados from Mexico.
This will be on the blooper reel. I tell you, it'll be on the blooper reel. I kid you not. Just me messing up on my English. So